Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Cipher System rules by Monty Cook Games. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We're happy to have you with us on this journey of cosmic wonder. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living from the vast reaches of unknown space, are strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your game master. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back with Children of the Periphery as we further our tale here for you. So if you are a member of our regular listenership, you know that one of the only ways that you can get all of the fun extras we do is on Patreon. So it's also a fantastic way to support the show and all the things that the show does with that. And so you can do that over on Patreon at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. You can check us out on YouTube and also on Twitch. So twitch.tv/theoldwaystwitch, which we are hoping to continue to expand with fun offerings for our viewers. Now I'm going to allow the cast to introduce themselves to you, starting to my right.
Hi, this is Morgan, and I play Captain Amara Castra. Our pronouns are she, her, and Amara is a brash explorer who learns quickly. And I'm going to learn to have Tamarisk talk to our new alien friends during this, next portion of our show.
Sure. It's all about putting the right people in the right spaces. And, as someone who's supposed to delegate, this is a great way to delegate and not put your foot in your mouth. I like that idea. And to the captains, right?
Hi, this is Rena. I play Tamarisk Anvari. Our pronouns are they, them. Tamarisk is an empathic speaker who commands mental powers. And I'm going to get to do some talking. I hope.
Indeed you are. Yeah, or listening or talking, or communicating, really. That's what you're hoping to do, right? We'll see how that works out for you. Next, Tamarisk.
Hello, this is Mare, and I am playing Cordelia Oren. Both of our pronouns are she, her, and Cordelia is a beneficent warrior who wears power armor. Hopefully will not need to do much in today's adventure, if all goes well. Right?
Boy, that sure sounds like a preamble for your game master to get involved. I like that idea. And next to Mare.
Hi, this is John. I'll be playing Fida, ship's mechanic. Fida is a mechanical explorer who talks to machines. We both use he, him pronouns, and I think that, like Cordelia, if I talk, something is going wrong. So we are going to be stoic and handsome in the back, just the two of us.
Right. You're like the U.S. Air Force maxim, which is, if you are in the Air Force and we hand you a gun to defend the country, things have gone really, really wrong.
Yeah.
And joining us as a special guest.
Hey there, I'm Emily. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm playing Aaron Ovell, who uses he, him pronouns. And Aaron is a creative, swift explorer who commands mental powers. And Aaron's mission is going pretty okay. So.
Yeah. First half of it's been pretty good. Let's see how you stick the landing, Aaron. Thank you for joining us for this fun. So the council chambers are made up of a series of seats. They are fit in a semicircle. They sort of mimic the outside architecture of the building, except they aren't cones. They're more like dishes, really, with slight places to prop people up as they sit comfortable, some sort of textile cushion that sits on them. Tamarisk, if you didn't know any better, this would sort of almost feel like a courtesan court. It has some of the very same feels. There's a fragrance here in the air that changes the tone of the room a little bit. There's definitely some sort of perhaps a calming agent that's put in. This is also a place where you feel like many minds meet here, not just in the one sense. There are likely conversations going on all over the place here. You see that there are 5 chairs, and there are 5 Anyi that sit in them. Aaron, you hear from one of the council members ahead of you a greeting and asks you to bring the aliens forward.
Yeah, Aaron will gesture at this point for the aliens to step forward, and will have a silent interaction with their leaders before them, as none of you can hear. You do notice at one point that at the beginning of this, Aaron makes an interesting gesture which you suspect might be some sort of deferential bow or something, where he holds forth both of his hands, palms up, very simply, and then removes them. And then at one point, Aaron nods at all four of you and steps to the side.
I step forward. I raise my hand as Aaron taught me.
They, in unison, raise their hands to you and very slowly make a motion forward. There's a reverence that they give to it. They seem very serious.
I repeat the gesture and move up to the captain.
Hello, I'm Captain Amara Kasra of the ship Periphery. These are my fellow crewmates. We heard that you needed some assistance.
You get stared at for probably a good 15 seconds.
I'll look at Amara, look at Aaron, think for a second, and then repeat what Amara just said, but in the language that I picked up when I interacted with the first Oni that we met.
Mm-hmm. You start to see members of this council begin to physically react to you speaking. Not necessarily like a negative way, but they begin to look at you. You get this sort of swept back ears turn towards you, and they sort of narrow their vision a little bit. And you feel a presence in your mind that's not necessarily it doesn't feel very comfortable. And then you realize it's not one, it's 5. You feel like 5 people are giving you a hug at the same time. And so that feels a little claustrophobic.
Resist the urge to put my hand up to my head. Does it feel like they're trying to communicate to me that way?
It does. It does feel like they're trying to communicate that way to you.
Then I will take a deep breath and then open up my mind to let them do so.
You open up your mind, and when you give that portion of your defenses over just a little bit, it actually feels less oppressive. They seem to also relax a little bit. Aaron, you would know that there's a mental negotiation going on at this point, right? So given that they're an outsider, the Anyi it might take them a little time to sort of dial in how strong their mental powers are. The council members are, they're likely very powerful telepaths in their own right. And so it would be a challenge to talk to all 5 of them at once. You would find it uncomfortable. The first voice you hear is a deeper resonant voice, and it says, "We choose not to use the devices to speak verbally. You seem to have no difficulties in hearing me."
I can hear you.
"We have many questions, but we understand that time presses forward. You may call me Thrall. I speak for the council."
I am Tamarisk.
"Where did you come from?"
We came through a very large portal from another, I struggle to find the word that would mean something to them, galaxy? We would call it a horizon.
You see a ton of different mental images begin getting sort of fired off in sort of your general mental space. The idea of planets, the idea of multiple planets, and then you see a wide shot view of a solar system. And then the voice says, "Outside this realm?"
Yes.
The image dissipates. "And you walk with 2 legs?"
Yes. That is how we evolved.
"This being next to you, who is this being?" You can tell that mentally they're pointing, which is also sort of strange, at Fida.
He is one of us, but also related to other beings we don't know. We are still learning. His name is Fida.
His mind is ordered like the ancients.
Well, that answers one question. Yes, he has some connection.
You understand, I see a little of what Aaron has spoken to you. Aaron, you get unprompted brought into a mental conversation. Your name has been spoken somewhere and suddenly you're in this bubble. They've told you the difficulties we are having.
Yes. We had learned a little before we met Aaron, and I flash a mental image of that kind of crown that I wore, what I learned things from.
Ah, yes. It's an early memory recorder.
Yes.
No longer used by our people.
We would like to help if we can.
There are many ways. The voice softens and gets almost melodic. There are many ways to help. There are many paths. We are not a warlike people. We did not seek anything from the Rockton. We simply sought peace, but they burned our cities. They destroyed our community, which once lay above ground. And so we fled to the depths here to safety. And now they trouble us again. We do not wish to use the machine, but we will if they press us.
The machine?
I have not told them of the machine, I say to my leader.
There's almost like a mental stiffening that goes on. You can feel like the walls around the bubble get really hard. The machine is something that lays in the depths of the planet. It has an awesome power within it. There is some difference, some ununified belief that it can be controlled. It could surge to the surface. It could lay waste to what the Rockton have built, but we want nothing to do with destruction. It is not our way.
What sort of help would you ask of us?
Our ways are perhaps too passive for the Rockton to agree to. Perhaps it is a lack of respect. Perhaps what they respect is strength. The council would ask you to mediate. As an outsider, you are a third party. And then, provided a solution can be found, all the Anyi want are the ability to come back to the surface and have our community under the stars. In exchange for your services, you feel something funny at the back of your neck. It feels like someone tickling the back of your neck. Not in an uncomfortable way, but that's what it feels like. We see you have a water problem. We could assist you in fixing this water problem. There are many pools deep within the crust here, which are rich in minerals and pure. They have not been tainted by the surface wars. We could even assist you with transporting the water to your ship. A vast vessel, I see.
Yes, we do have need of water, and I know our situation is becoming dire. That would greatly assist us. And there's a slight smile. Our engineer, glance over at Fida, would also perhaps like a look at to try and understand some of your technology, gesturing like with the mental image of the portal gun that Aaron used.
Portaling technology is sacred. It is difficult to consider sharing it because it is a defense mechanism for us. And if it were to fall into the wrong hands, there is little we can do to stop someone using it against us. But perhaps this water assistance is enough. If it is not, and we must negotiate further, then the council is prepared to do so immediately.
Let me share with my compatriots.
Discuss it, please. We will await your decision. Both of you get popped out of the bubble.
See, I just sort of blink really rapidly and shake my head a bit. So they want us to act as intermediaries in a negotiation with the Rockton, third-party negotiators. And if we are able to come to some agreement, then they offer us water, fresh water, including transportation of it to the ship.
What about the portal technology?
They are reluctant, but say they will be open to it if we deem it absolutely necessary.
We do have need of water. It would be helpful to have assistance with getting that to the ship and fixing that problem to ensure that Cordelia's people survive and can get to a planet that we can settle them on. Okay. As long as they're willing to think about the portal technology, I mean, we should help. I'm not going to leave them.
Perhaps, as this is a negotiation, perhaps we negotiate for the water for acting as their intermediaries, and if we are able to come to some agreement with the Rockton, some satisfactory arrangement, then in that case, they will also give us a look at the portal technology.
Hey, Cordelia, how do you feel about this? Because you're an open book to Aaron. Your brain is completely connected. I'd love to know your thoughts on it, as would really everybody.
I have a question going along with that. When Aaron is connected in on this conversation, I guess Aaron can kind of, because correct me if I'm wrong, this whole time everyone has been standing in really weird, awkward silence.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Over the course of it, while that whole initial conversation between Tamarisk and the council has been taking place, Cordelia's doing that thing at first from like shifting from one side to the other, maybe awkwardly scuffing a loud boot against the ground, is struggling with that silence. Aaron would be able to hear the kind of mutterings of like a small child, just kind of like, how much longer are they going to do this? Do they have, like, okay, what did that facial expression, was that a facial expression? Is that their nose? Right? Kind of just those little thoughts throughout all of it. And then is almost startled once speaking takes place once more. This idea of the trade for water, but also trying to find a place there, it seems too good. And I think that's where Cordelia's brain is there is probably this, what's the catch, that's in her mind. She's not saying it out loud, but I think at some point she would have connected that Aaron can probably pick that up. Is there a way for Cordelia to know? I mean, can Cordelia sense the presence of Aaron in her mind? Or is this a one-way sort of, Aaron is picking up those radio signals and Cordelia is just broadcasting and has no idea?
I think that's the tough part, right? So the tough part is that Cordelia is the sort of person that probably does a lot of just brain thinking on her own as things happen. And Aaron's race is someone who is naturally telepathic. And they even went as far as to making a sort of a cord connection with you. I wouldn't say, though, it would be impossible for you to hear something from that space from Aaron. I think it's more like your brain would probably go, wait, is Aaron still listening in here?
Yeah, okay. I think that then throughout that, like the scuffing there would have probably, scuffing her shoe, doing different things would have made eye contact with Aaron. And then I guess whenever Aaron got looped into the conversation, it's the equivalent of like the little kid listening at the door of like, hey, are you talking to them too? But this part, yeah, I think that going into the discussion here, yes, water sounds good. Yes, finding a place for the colonists sounds good. It's the having seen the Rockton, even from a distance, and also having been the one to have fired a weapon at them. She's just apprehensive about how conversational they're going to be. Is there a way, feel free to say no, is there a way for Cordelia to sort of ask that question pointedly towards Aaron, knowing that I guess she's not certain if anyone can hear the insides of her brain. She's just,
I love the idea of Cordelia getting this thought pattern and then sort of hearkening back to maybe like films or holos that she had seen of someone with mental powers. I can imagine her power armored hands going up the side of her helmet and trying to like project her thoughts at Aaron, which wouldn't necessarily be an attack per se, but I love the idea of you trying to project your thoughts at Aaron.
Yeah, I think she does that. Comic books will be around forever and always, and does this Professor X 2 fingers to the temple of the side of her helmet and is squinting at Aaron, because I guess she's thinking extra hard, squinting at Aaron through her helmet visor and just goes, has there been any success in negotiating with these folks in the past?
Aaron thinks that this is some sort of gesture and does it back. So Aaron also raises some fingers to his to what would be his visor, and then just says, "No, our attempts have been unsuccessful."
Have they met aliens as well?
We are unaware of any such interactions.
You can see she's still thinking, but what she's thinking about, which I guess is everything that Aaron would hear as well, because I guess in her mind, there's a distinction between her thinking about what she's going to say and then saying it. So Aaron is getting the draft and the message at the same time.
Yeah, it's really echoey. But you would notice this, Aaron. He would absolutely notice this. Cordelia's thoughts are louder now. And so this being is actually trying to project its thoughts at you. And that changes the calculus for you about what this species could do, because it's learning and adapting. And there might be a tinge in your own brain of concern, because one of them clearly has the ability to communicate telepathically. Does that mean that they could all learn it? We can't have these loud people here being loud telepathically. That's a concern.
You seem to have misgivings.
I have been trained to look for ways that harm could befall people that I protect. It's nothing personal. It's just what I do. I only want to look for what's best for my people and to keep them safe. And honestly, having seen these rocked in, even from a distance, safety is not the word that comes to mind.
They are a formidable opponent.
They seemed very angry when we last saw them.
How are your mediation skills?
Ooh, mine? You just hear, while she's trying to cover in her mind with the, they're not great. And then just in the back, the loud other part is, not good! Not good. Mine? Not good. Tamarisk? Maybe. And Captain Kazra? Just the flashes of Captain Kazra without a gun? Probably. Fida? If it's a machine? Sure. And, but then you also see, the flashes for Cordelia of, her mediation skills being more training little kids how to throw a punch in self-defense. That's the kind of thing. You see carrying heavy things, cleaning up damage after a tragedy. That is the flashes that you see of what Cordelia thinks that she brings to the table. A thumbs up, a high five, a soldierly punch in the arm. That's what you're getting as flashes of hers. And body laughter over a dirty joke. That's kind of the flashes that you're getting of how Cordelia interacts with others. As opposed to, in her mind, you also kind of see this picture of Tamarisk, arms out, light shining behind them, breathing words over a listening crowd. And then a giant red X going over that. And arrow pointing, almost she's thinking in comic books. This is not how her interaction would be. Yeah, she's very visual in her thought, very loud visuals, like bright colors is what you're seeing in your mind. It's probably very shocking.
Seeing all that, Aaron is going to kind of look you directly in the eye and just go, I'm starting to have doubts that you all are suitable mediators.
Me? No. I'm there in case the mediation for them goes south. And she gives a thumbs up after having been silently conversing with Aaron, and so everyone just sees a thumbs up.
If the mediation goes south, you all will be in immediate danger.
Yep, so they're going to do a great job of not having it go south, and I'm going to stand nearby.
Aaron, you are contacted by the council. They appear in your head. Has there been a decision made?
I don't think so. They appear to still be debating.
There seems to be like a silence, just an extended silence from the council in your head. Very well. Determine what their needs are, and then if we can meet them within our guidelines, we will. We need them to stop the Rockton at all costs.
Yes. All right, I'm going to go back into Cordelia's brain. What conditions do we need to meet for you all to help us?
Cordelia looks to the others as like, are there any other conditions that we need them to meet? I mean, is there anything else we want to ask for while we're here? Because I feel like if this is going to be a high-risk situation, this should be a high-reward situation.
Water and portal technology is where we came to, so I personally don't think of much else we need to drag out of anyone.
Does everyone else remember what we saw from over that ridge? We all remember what we saw, right? Right? Do they have any defensive technology perhaps to keep us from getting, I don't know, killed upon arrival? Maybe a portal thing to get out of there in case we do get attacked upon arrival? Then she's looking at Aaron like that. That's a reasonable request.
Presumably so. I will ask.
Are we mediating there? Or are they mediating here? Or should we mediate in a neutral place?
I would guess a neutral place.
Always want to hold negotiations in a neutral location whenever possible.
Have they ever been open to negotiations in the past?
Yeah, so in the past, Aaron, you would know that the council and other members of the Unused Society have tried to negotiate with the Rockton, and their aggressive nature generally means that negotiations break down pretty quickly because they're attempting to dominate the entire planet, or at least the entire continent, as far as you know. And so when your people try to find a middle ground, they basically ask for everything.
We have attempted to make peaceful contact, but no such attempt for negotiation has ever been even moderately successful.
Sounds to me like if we're going to get And Fida, starts saying that, and then he kind of stops, and he turns to Aaron, and he's like, a question. When your people fail with an approach, how long do you keep repeating the approach until you decide it's not working?
I would say it depends on how firmly the approach is rejected. Usually, it is extremely firmly rejected, so...
Fida holds up a hand, he's like, how many of your previous envoys have returned alive?
Oh, about half of our own people, but you as outsiders, who presumably they want nothing from us, they want everything. From you...
Fida kind of tilts his head and he's like, this isn't a pun, but your people are very sheltered, aren't you?
We are now.
Can you conceive a species which does not care that we have nothing to offer and would still kill us?
Well, yes, it's always possible.
He's like, right, this is a theoretical concept in Aaron's mind. This isn't a thing that they haven't figured out what the Rakton actually are. Well, Captain, what I think we could do is we could bring online some of the weapons platforms on the space station. Perhaps train them on a certain point planet side as a show of force, and insurance policy 2 in 1. That might get them to sit down with us. As to the rest, this isn't my area. I just know stuff. I would say we're going to need to be allowed to have some leeway in how we do this. Because I get the feeling our friends here are radical pacifists might be the best term. I think maybe we have to be the ones with the big stick.
How about we accept the proposal first, and then we can come up with a plan?
Oh, no, totally. But absolutely. My 2 cents is we have to be allowed to do this our way. And that the way we conduct the negotiations will not be, that they won't have an issue with how we do it. That we'll try and do it peacefully, but if they don't let us.
Well, the tactics that we've employed have not worked, so we are very likely open to using your own methods of negotiation.
Yeah, third party negotiators are pretty common when 2 different people or species can't connect and make progress on their own. So we have Tamarisk here, who is very well versed in negotiation. So we should use that expertise to our advantage. So Tamarisk, what do you think?
I mean, it sounds like a good plan to me. Frankly, I'm just grateful to be useful. All right, so I think we have an accord.
Excellent. And I'm going to turn back to Thrall and say, they have agreed.
Good. They'll need to get through the tunnels to the negotiation location. They'll also need to be prepared in case the Rockton decide to become aggressive before the meeting. We'll send a few scouts along with you to make sure that the zone stays clear. Once they're in position, negotiations will begin. Make sure that it's clear what we want. Peace. And then the ability to return to the surface. In exchange, the community is willing to offer the Rockton peace. And you get like the most serious version of peace in your memory. Like the image of it is that what they mean is like peace and prosperity and good for everyone and the ability to coexist, not doing something that would otherwise endanger everyone. The council sits back down.
Look at Aaron.
And then the room like dims a little.
So I'm assuming they agreed where our bargain is struck?
They did. They will send scouts with us, and I relay the terms and conditions that we would like to strike for.
So Aaron, do you relay them in the same sort of like mental imagery and also like the meanings and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Tamarisk, I'm going to have you make a challenge rating for intellect-based roll.
Oof.
To understand what Aaron is trying to convey.
Okay. Can I spend an effort to ease that?
Certainly. Once foreseen.
This feels important. So I need to roll a 9 or better.
Mm-hmm.
That is an 11.
So the mental imagery seems really... What's the best way to say it? I think it seems a little flowery to you. It seems a little hopeful. It seems a little sort of pie in the sky, dreamy world community. And I think that your experiences in the Third Horizon make that feel a little dubious. And then some of the other mental imagery seems to infer that the Anyi have sort of another solution that they don't want to use. They would really like to not be pushed. You get this weird, like your brain makes this sort of like gauntleted fist inside of a velvet glove image, and you don't know what they mean by that.
I try to reach directly out to Thrall and mentally, since there was already a connection there.
You do. You feel the presence of a single council member, which is a little less weighty. Yes?
Are the Rockton aware of this weapon that you mentioned?
They are not. It is not for their eyes or ears.
So you don't wish it known during the course of negotiations that you have such a thing?
I do not. We do not. He sort of corrects himself to like the plural community version. And when he says we, like you get an entire picture of the entire community in your head.
There might be more weight to the desire for peace, the implied threat.
We are not an aggressive people, and so making threats is not our way. It has not served the community to ever make threats.
It is very difficult to come to a negotiation and say that you want to have peace when the other side wishes you harm if you have no way to combat them. You have something that can combat them. You don't need to use it, but the idea that you might, just the implied notion of it, could lend weight to the negotiation. That is the feeling I was getting from this we wish peace and not anything else. If there is nothing to back up the or anything else, it rings a little hollow.
Very well. As a last resort, perhaps, but once they become aware of it, there may be other challenges.
I would not open with it. I just wanted to know that in acting on your behalf, it wouldn't be overstepping to have it up in my sleeve, so to speak, should it become necessary.
You are a skilled and trained negotiator. I'm certain you will make the right decision. The community awaits your results.
Give a mental bow.
You feel him sort of close the communication off.
Well, shall we?
Are we ready? I'm done talking in language that I can't understand. I've been just sitting here the whole time, standing here the whole time with my hands behind my back, with a, not a blank face, but just, patiently waiting.
Walking outside of the council chamber, you get flanked by 4 other Anyi, all carrying rifles. These look like they're in the same, or at least somewhat similar style armor that Aaron wears, maybe a little heavier. And you get not uncomfortably surrounded, but they do cover all of the other bases. They put you in the center. This isn't necessarily uncomfortable, Cordelia, because you're in power armor, and that sort of always gives you a little bit of additional feeling of security, but they are aliens and you don't really know them. And now you got to go back up your negotiator. So you probably start to break the situation down as best you can into plausible things which you have done before, which is, well, I've had to protect people on diplomatic missions. And then you sort of cycle through some of them that have gone maybe less than perfectly. Like, yeah, that could happen here too. But hopefully not.
All of those are flashing in her mind. She's, not necessarily thinking them super loud, but it sounds like if, much like the council that's there, there's all the different aspects of herself that are thinking of this. The one that's just legitimately scared, because that is a real fear. The one that is feeling protective. The one that's feeling aggressive, that would want to fight and defend the folks she's with. The one that is level-headed, which is probably the quietest voice in her head, to be perfectly honest. And then the one that kind of has that kind of playing through scenarios of how she would fight, but in that kind of like fun soldier way, like where she kind of romanticizes that aspect of her job of like, so would you grab the wings first or the beak first? Like, those kinds of things. So that is constantly going on. Yeah, Aaron is probably getting like a whole show in his mind and a very quick insight into how perhaps a warrior from this culture, given that they are not as warrior-y, getting kind of an insight into the stakes, I guess, for how Cordelia could foresee this going down. And is not thinking of the fact that Aaron can actually hear all of this. Isn't thinking about it. Kind of keeps forgetting that connection's there.
And then like at the end of the conversation inside your head and all the images, you go, are you still listening?
Yeah, are you still here?
So the walk out from the community center you begin to chart a different path than the one you'd come in at. You exit out one of the external spaces. You come out from under this big dome, and you immediately go into a series of tunnels. And these are at most 2 meters tall. And so for you, Fida, this gets real cramped real quick. The Ani are not a terribly tall race. And so 6+ feet is just about enough for them. And so you're having to duck and get down and hunch over. And it is a long trek. The trek probably takes about the better part of an hour. You go through a series of tunnels. You see some fantastic underground waterfalls. You can see and smell fresh water. You see tiny little fish swimming in the water, and they all have this kaleidoscopic sets of scales. They bring you closer and closer to the surface. You can feel yourself getting close to the surface. And for you, Aaron, this is when things get a little bit tense, because every time you're close to the surface is generally when you're much more likely to run into the rockton. Basically, anything about 12 meters below ground and up is essentially fair game territory that you're going to likely run into them. They have patrols. They have maneuvers that their people do. They're essentially constantly in hunt mode. The thing that you probably fear the most is being eaten, because the rockton eat the Ani when they find them usually. But the group comes to a stop. The group of scouts comes to a stop near a archway. So this tunneled out archway, and you can smell fresh air, like certainly from the surface. There's a breeze here. And in your head, Aaron, the scout turns to you and says, our negotiation position is just over a hill outside of this arch. And you watch each one of them sort of reposition their rifles, and you can see them like preparing them for use.
All right. I will walk in front with the negotiators, and we will position for retreat if necessary. And I'm going to beckon to the aliens with me and speak out loud through the device in my mouth, saying like, all right, the negotiation site is just there.
And how do you arrange for them to meet us there?
That's a good question, Michael.
Yeah, that's certainly.
Do I know?
Yeah, so one of the things that the Ani can do, obviously, is projector telepathy, and it doesn't really take too terribly much mental energy to sort of mentally tap one of the rockton on the shoulder and give them the projected image of a parlay, a talk, and then they'll generally mass some of their species up, and then you try to talk to them. The talking part for the Ani is the toughest part, because the rockton generally talk with their mouths, and they have beaks, and so their words are sometimes difficult to understand. Mentally talking to them generally makes them upset. They don't like invasive telepathy. It took a few different, we'll just say, experiences with the rockton for the Ani to understand, that's probably not the right way. So you changed your tack a little bit, and then developed this accessibility device that you use, so you can see the scouts are getting their own on.
All right. Then to Tamarisk, I'll say, when we arrive at the negotiation site, I will signal them, and you will take over from there.
All right.
I have a question. Cordelia, who's been walking along, overthinking this whole time, right? And then just has a flash of thought. I have a question. Do they talk in our heads like you do? Do they speak with their mouths? How do we actually talk with them?
Sorry, there's a sound in the background. I'm waiting for it to be over.
So good. Good dramatic pause. Love that.
Okay. The rockton speak aloud. They have beaks, and they do not take kindly to our internal ways of communication at all.
Do they have devices such as yours for us to communicate with? And she gestures with her hand across where the prosthetic device is.
You will understand them.
Oh. She looks to Tamarisk with an eyebrow raised.
I'm not certain we'll speak the same language. However, I don't know if it'll work again, but I was able to learn your language, looking at Aaron, somehow just by talking for a few moments. It's possible I may be able to do the same with them, which is what I'm hoping for. Otherwise, we'll need a translator. It would be easier if we didn't have to rely on a translator, but I'm hoping that somehow whatever is going on in this beautiful brain of mine will carry over to communicating with them as well.
I love that for you. All of you, really.
Mm-hmm.
So the scouts head out, and you come to a grassy plain that has a series of rock formations around it. The grassy plain opening is probably 50 or so feet around. More than enough room that it would be difficult for anyone to sort of get the jump on someone. And some of the on-you scouts sort of immediately take higher positions. And Aaron, you get the mental image of Rockton, who are not terribly far.
All right, then I'm going to signal to the Rockton and basically say, hello, we would like to parlay. And at that time, I'm going to send them visual images of the people with me so that they can see very clearly that this is not just another group of Anyi. We have third-party negotiators.
Okay. So the field of play changes rather drastically. Those of you who have seen the Rockton, which is really all of you, some of you have not seen them so terribly up close. And so the crew gets a chance to see them personally. They sort of glide in. They are muscularly built humanoids, bipedal. They have large wings on their back. They have a series of thick feathers that cover their forearms and their biceps. And their hands end in something that looks like a more human hand. It has three fingers. There are claws on each one of these fingers that are reasonably sturdy. Their face is an amalgamation of two eyes, which are pretty large and wide, certainly set predatorily. And then they have beaks, and then they have a soft, sort of fleshy under portion of their beak, and then a light series of feathers that draw down from what would be their chin to their chest. And they are armed mostly with what looks like blades and other, might be some sort of rifle that is strapped to their back. But yeah, there's about 4 of them that step in. They glide towards the rocks and take the opposite position that you're standing in. One of the 4 Rockton has a series of like golden accents to some of its feathers, and it seems to hit the grass floor with a sort of a pronounced appearance. It preens itself just slightly upon landing.
So I'm going to do what I did when we interacted with the Oni for the first time, which is try to make myself look non-threatening and then just start talking in a very calm, rational, reasonable tone to try and get them talking back to me so I can see if I start picking up their language the way I did before, because I'm still not sure how this works. I'm just hoping that it works so that I don't have to get someone to translate for me this whole time.
It's okay. There's nothing at stake here, right?
Nothing at stake.
You begin to talk. You get a couple words into a general introduction about who you are, or perhaps a peaceful greeting. And this Rockton sort of squawks in a fairly aggressive manner. It makes a sound, and the sound that comes out of its mouth echoes around the rocks here. And you can see the rest of the Rockton sort of bristle. And it starts, I'm going to say it starts yammering because you don't really know what it's saying yet. And so it's beginning to talk. For you, Aaron, your devices pick up what Rockton's speech is. And essentially what it is asking is, why have you trespassed on our territory, and who are these morsels you have brought to us?
All right, I turn to Cordelia then, because I still have the connection there, and I will say, they are accusing us of trespassing and bringing what they describe you all as morsels.
Inside the head, just hand go here. Did you say mortals or morsels? As in like a thing to eat or as a thing that is alive?
And Aaron does the hand gesture again as well and says, morsels, as in to consume, consumable morsels.
Oh, gotcha. Great. You can see, if anyone's looking at her, the look on her face reads, not great, very bad, not ideal. And she's looking back again, like firing back to Aaron. You could let them know you simply escorted us here as a third party and that we are not edible and we taste very, very bad.
I will send the image to that Rockton that these are our third-party negotiators. And I don't include that they will taste very bad thing, because I don't think that it'll actually discourage them at all. So that's all that I say.
Say, when you said, send the image, did you mean say aloud? Because the Rockton hate psychic messaging, and I don't want to be eaten by something else.
Yes, do the Rockton understand me if I speak with the prosthetic thing?
They do.
Okay. Then yes, I speak that aloud to them.
The good part about that when you speak it out loud is that it actually helps Tamarisk hear more words. And so you start picking up on like little idiosyncrasies and differences in the pronunciation, Tamarisk. And so your brain is doing some real strange stuff right now. It's not even conscious. It's not an active skill. It's something your body is doing or your brain is doing. You're not sure. The Roxanne you were talking to tilts its head and you feel like food. Like it tilts its head like you'd probably be pretty tasty. And then it looks over and you can see that maybe it's trying to determine who it wants to eat first. And it squawks again and again, and then begins to sort of trail off a little bit. And I'm going to give Tamarisk a roll now to try to pick up on anything they might hear.
Okay. So that's an intellect roll?
It is.
Okay. And what's the difficulty or challenge?
What is the challenge rating? I think the challenge rating of this language is probably 4.
Oof. Okay.
May I assist with this? Viewing this as sort of like a puzzle-solving skill?
Yeah, you have a skill at solving puzzles, and I think you know that your negotiator is trying to learn how to speak their language. So sure, you can help them work through some of the words.
May I also assist in a way where we could say that perhaps my power armor is recording this information as well and is, kind of like processing it as if it could go through the communications with us too? I'm trying.
Yeah, you're trying to be very helpful, and that's something you're very good at. So maybe what you're doing is you're recording it through the power armor, and then you're slowly sort of playing things back. And Aaron is identifying the meaning of those sounds, and so Aaron can translate, and you can record and play back, so that way Tamarisk can have a better idea of what words mean what and how to sort of chop through that language. Sure. That sounds fun and fantastic.
Exactly. That was my plan all along.
So I need a 6 or better?
Yep.
We eased it by 2. Okay. Okay, well, that is very good for me because that was a 7. Thanks, gang.
Okay. So you get, we'll say, a rudimentary idea of how they talk. There's a lot of very short and rapid responses that they seem to give. That's how their language works. There isn't a lot of deep and melodic, it seems anyway, to their specific tongue. And so unless you are trying to convey something that is an advanced idea, I think will allow you to begin communicating, likely with Aaron still helping and Cordelia being your DJ playback assistant during that time. The reply in such as it was a question, really. And this Rockton asked what the Anyi have to offer in hopes of saving them from certain death. So you get a really aggressive question at the start.
Slight eyebrow raise because people don't usually come to negotiations so completely hostile. Peace.
It's a difficult word to parse out in their tongue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reminded very much of playing games when I was a child and playing D&D and getting in Dragon Magazine the Thieves' Cant book where there is no word for please. That's what this feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the sort of big yellow and dark eyes of the Rockton just sort of focus in on you. Those eyes narrow a little bit. And it replies something to the effect that there are two types of beings. There are those who hunt and those who are food. And the Anyi are food.
So that's disturbing.
Do you suggest they are something else? Get gestures with a series of, clawed fingers towards you.
They are beings who speak, who act, who dream, who have desire, just like you. You're not food.
There was once a great war here, brought on by their people. A great machine. It destroyed our haven, our clutch. It dispersed us. Our ancestors swore on that day that there would be no peace while they lived. We have fought for many suns and many moons to root them out. What makes you think we want peace?
So you're saying they started it?
This is the tale as it was told to me. A great machine came from the depths. It destroyed everything we knew. We wandered the plains for scores of generations. We built ourselves back up. We took control of the northern continent and vowed we would kill them all. And now, at the precipice of their final disaster, they want peace. Like, you can tell it's really difficult for the Rockton to even form the word in their own tongue.
It has been many, many generations. Is it not? There is no one who remembers those old days. People change. Things change. It is possible to want peace. Who knows how it all originally started? No one was there. Stories change as they are told. When I was a child, there was a game where you would tell a story to one person, and then they would have to repeat that story to the next person, and then to the next person. And it changed every time that story was told until after 5 or 6, no one knew what the original story was anymore. There can be peace. There can be a coming together after a time where things were bad, where no one knows exactly what happened. It is possible to set it aside and begin something new, tell a new story.
Okay, Tamarisk. Now we get to the tough part.
Uh-huh.
Convincing. So I think I'm going to set this at challenge rating 6.
I'm specialized in tasks involving social interaction, pleasant or otherwise. So does that ease it?
So specialization, not just trained, but specialization. So specialization drops it by 2.
Okay.
So yeah, that's 4 or better.
All right. So I need a 12 or better.
You could spend effort if you haven't spent it this scene. This is a new scene from the council chamber.
So I'll spend an effort because this is really important.
Yes, this is really important.
Can I use a cipher for this?
Can you use a cipher for this? Absolutely. What cipher would you like to use?
To grant to someone else?
Yeah, like you could give it to him.
I have perfection, which the user treats their next action as if they had rolled a natural 20.
So the item you have is something that Tamarisk would have to use. Like, you can't use it. They would have to use it. I'm happy to let you figure out how that will work between the two of you while this negotiation's going on, though.
What is the item, I guess?
So the item in question is essentially something that looks like a religious icon. So imagine it as like a small ivory statue or something akin to it. There are things on it which look like perhaps animals, maybe some type of wolf.
If you have a way for me to use it, Emily, we can go with that. Otherwise, I'll roll with the difficulty of at 3 now.
I'm going to give this to Tamarisk and just explain to them what it is and what they are holding, what the symbolism behind it is.
Okay.
So this sort of strikes a chord with you, Tamarisk, in that this object might not originate with the Anyi, that perhaps it's a tie to someone else's past.
So I will hold it, and it will also remind me of religious iconography from back in the Third Horizon and how I would connect to the messenger. For example, when I was praying or when I was engaged in delicate negotiations and I wanted their blessing. And I will use those memories, that connection. I'm talking about telling stories. This is a story. I'm talking about how stories can change. And so I'm connecting to it.
Okay. So utilizing the perfection cipher, it removes your roll and treats your roll as if it's a 20, which is beneficial for many, many reasons. The Rockton steps forward, likely way closer than you would ever want something like this being to you, given how aggressive it's been. And it wraps or closes its hands like around your hands as you're holding this figurine. And you can see its beak, its big eyes, very close to your face. You can imagine the potential damage a beak like that would do. And it says, there are many stories. Perhaps some are worth letting go. It takes the figurine and with its like taloned hands, it crushes it. When it stands back up to full height, it says to you, we will speak with the rest of the tribe. There is wisdom in moving on. There are migrations which we have not done in years. Perhaps we can find a place, even if that means being separate.
Coming together doesn't mean being coexisting in the same place. It can be figured out. The story can change.
So all this was happening, Taris was speaking out loud and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is the negotiation part of the story. But that's okay. I mean, if y'all want to shoot weapons, then feel free. We can have that roll too. The Rockton recede back to the stone walls and outcroppings. The rest of the Anyi here, Aaron, are cautious. They keep themselves in spaces where they can't be plucked from. You can tell that it'll take some time to figure out a path forward, but at least no one attacked one another.
I look suddenly very exhausted, just while everyone's pulling back, just because that took a lot out of me. Just the learning, trying to figure out the language, but also this very tense situation, and suddenly there's a Rockton right up all in my business.
Mm-hmm.
But deep breath.
Aaron is going to make the gesture that he made to his leaders earlier when he entered the hall. So you see him kind of take a timid step forward, holding his palms up. And this time he's also going to nod and hope that they understand that this means a sign of respect.
You're not really sure how they take it. They, I guess, judge you a little warily at first. You get a lot of looks from the Rockton, which are less aggressive, but not deeply trustworthy. There's still clearly some concerns on their side as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I guess I will start leading our team back to the leadership council, back to my people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You lead them back down under into the tunnels. The scouts follow you afterwards. While the scouts follow you, Cordelia, your helmet gets a radio signal, like a high focus beam transmission from you. It's got to be the Nadir.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a sort of garbled voice come in, and you can hear that it's Rakam. And you hear him sort of mid-sentence say, "Hear me? Hear me? Can you hear me?"
Rakam?
Yes.
What's going on?
We've got a serious problem up here.
What do you mean a serious problem?
Do you know somebody named... You hear a pause in the line.
Hello? Somebody named what?
Samuel Garrison?
Samuel Garrison?
So in the Wayback Machine for you, Samuel Garrison is a member of the Legionnaire military.
Oh, crap. Okay. I do, in fact, know a Samuel Garrison. What's going on?
He's broadcasting from one of the rings inside the Nadir. It looks like his pod started. He's coming out of cryo.
Can you put him back in cryo?
I have been trying for the past 10 minutes.
Oh, is there any way at least to seal off that pod until we can return to the Nadir?
Yeah, I can try to keep him in space there, but he said that he's calling for some sort of general order. I don't know what he's up to or what he's doing, but from everything that I'm seeing here on the boards, it looks like he's trying to unfreeze more Legionnaires.
Gotcha. Great. Well, that's not a great time for this right now. If you can do your best to hold them in place, I'll let the others know. I'm sure, though, they probably heard this.
Your helmet is on, so you can't. The only person that's hearing this is Aaron.
Okay. We are hopefully going to... Well, first of all, good news. We didn't die in the negotiation. This is good.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Very dicey there for a second, but I will let the others know, and hopefully we can urgently get back. The good news is we may have secured water for us.
Good, because if this guy starts waking up a bunch more people, we're going to go through water way faster.
I'm going to fill the others in. We should be reaching the surface at some point soon.
Okay, I've got you positioned right now, so hopefully they can bring you back.
Hopefully they'll just portal us back up. That would be ideal.
Okay, good luck.
Okay, stay close. I will call you back soon. And you can just hear, Aaron would just hear, shit. Oh my God, shit. Just kind of going on in her mind.
Yeah, I mean, the floor is the players. You're getting led back over many different tunnels back towards the community.
As we walk then, having just heard all the stuff that Cordelia heard, Aaron would, speaking into her mind, just say, "We are all very grateful for what you have done for us here. And now that I have heard that you might be experiencing some sort of hardship, know that I will do what I can to help you."
I appreciate it. Our main hardship is that, well, it's a long story. Well, it's a short, long story. We have the ship that I'm from has been lost in a time. I've been in a stasis for a time and woke up as this crew joined on that ship. And now the others are waking up, but we are very short on those resources, and it could really shift the balance for what we're after, particularly if we do not have a planet to allow everyone who's waking up to go to. It's a problem. It's one of those important problems that suddenly became urgent.
That does sound largely unfortunate.
Yes, largely. Very largely.
We will do what we can to be of assistance to you.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. I do. I need to let the others know this as well. So I'm going to talk out loud now. And so from that point, just kind of giving, again, the mental image of a high five turning into a thumbs up, because the high five seems like the closest thing to what exists, and then a thumbs up. She would talk to the crew, like have it so that her voice can be heard outside of the helmet. Hey gang, just heard from Rakam. Some of the Legionnaires are waking up.
Awesome. If it's not one thing, it's another.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can secure what we need down here very quickly, and then our good friend Aaron here can help portal us back so that we can hopefully make that stop for right now until we can secure the resources.
Yep.
He's just like, do you know who it is?
Yes. Samuel Garrison. He is...
Do you outrank him?
You do not.
I do not.
Major General Samuel Garrison. He is the head of the Legionnaires on the Nadir, and he's been frozen for a few hundred years, and he's likely really, really pissed off.
So let's wrap this up with our good friends, the Oni.
And let's hopefully bring him back some food.
Yes. Fido, let's make plans to get the water to the ship. Can you work with the Oni on that?
I mean, I can tell him the coordinates on the ship of the location on the ship of the water tanks. That should be a start. If we have to transport a tanker up there of some kind, I don't know.
That's probably what we'll have to do.
Can they just portal it in?
I don't know how big their portals can get.
Can you just pour water into one of the holes and it shows up in the tank?
You get back to the community, and we'll wrap this session as you are going back up to the council chamber to turn in your quest reward in effect. So next session, I'm certain that we'll get back to the Nadir, and we'll get to encounter all sorts of fun things there, because one thing is certainly true about what Captain Mara says. If it's not one thing, it's another. And that's just the show for this evening. So thanks to all of the players, and thanks to Emily for joining us as a guest these past couple weeks. It's been great. And we look forward to entertaining you next time.